As the world gathered in Atlanta to celebrate unity at the 1996 Summer Olympics, a bomb packed with masonry nails tore through Centennial Park at 1:20 a.m., killing a mother from Albany, Georgia, and wounding over 100 people who'd come to witness history. But that was only the beginning. Over the next 18 months, 3 more bombs would detonate across Georgia and Alabama, an abortion clinic in Sandy Springs, a lesbian nightclub in Atlanta, another clinic in Birmingham, where an off-duty police officer was blown apart while working security. Each device more sophisticated than the last. Each one designed with secondary charge timed to kill the rescuers rushing in to save lives. 4 attacks, 2 dead, more than 150 wounded. And behind every explosion, a ghost. The FBI launched one of the most massive manhunts in American history. Hundreds of agents, bloodhounds, helicopters, $1 million reward. But Robert Rudolph had vanished into the Appalachian Mountains, a wilderness he'd known since childhood. For 5 years, he survived in caves and abandoned structures, while federal investigators combed 500,000 acres of forest, chasing shadows and rumors. Some locals whispered he was a folk hero. Others swore he was already dead. The government spent millions searching for a man who seemed to have dissolved into mountains like smoke. Then, in the pre-dawn darkness of May 31st, 2003, a rookie cop in Murphy, North Carolina, noticed someone digging through a grocery store dumpster. And what happened next would finally answer a question that had haunted investigators for nearly 7 years. How does a domestic terrorist disappear in plain sight? And what would his capture reveal about the bombings that terrorized the South? July 27, 1996. Centennial Olympic Park. The night air carried music and laughter across 85 acres of carefully manicured grounds in downtown Atlanta. Centennial Olympic Park had been built for this moment. Designed as the beating heart of the 1996 Summer Olympics, a gathering place where the world could celebrate unity. On this Saturday night, as midnight approached, thousands of spectators filled the park for a free concert by Jack Mack and the Heart Attack, a California band known for rhythm and blues that made people dance. Alice Hawthorne was among them. She was 44 years old, a mother from Albany, Georgia, who'd driven to Atlanta with her 14-year-old daughter to experience something extraordinary. The Olympics came once in a lifetime, maybe never to your home state, and Alice wanted her daughter to see it, to feel the energy of the world coming together. They'd spent the day watching events, soaking in the atmosphere, and now they stood in the park as the concert wound down, surrounded by families just like theirs. At 12:58 a.m., an anonymous call came into 911. The voice was calm. "Mail, deliberate. There's a bomb in Centennial Park. You have 30 minutes." The dispatcher tried to keep him on the line, asking questions, seeking details, but the caller hung up. The warning set off immediate action. Security personnel began scanning the crowd, looking for anything suspicious, trying to process the enormity of evacuating thousands of people in less than half an hour. Richard Jewell, a 33-year-old security guard working the park that night, noticed a green military-style backpack sitting unattended near the base of a sound tower. Something about it felt wrong. He alerted Georgia Bureau of Investigation agents nearby. They examined the bag. Heavy, packed with something dense. A bomb technician was called. The evacuation intensified. Security personnel pushed back the crowd, creating a perimeter, shouting at people to move, to get away from the tower. At 1:20 a.m., the bomb detonated. The explosion ripped through the night with sound witnesses described as deafening, apocalyptic. The device had been packed with masonry nails, 3-inch projectiles designed to tear through human flesh. The blast wave knocked people off their feet 50 yards away. Shrapnel flew in every direction, embedding in bodies, in trees, in the metal scaffolding of the tower. Screams replaced music. The smell of smoke and blood filled the air. Alice Hawthorne died instantly, struck in the head by shrapnel. Her daughter, standing beside her, survived. One moment they'd been together, sharing an experience meant to celebrate humanity's best impulses. The next, her mother was gone. Melih Yüzyol, a 40-year-old Turkish cameraman, suffered a fatal heart attack while rushing to film the aftermath. 111 others were wounded. Some lost limbs. Others carried shrapnel in their bodies they'd never be able to remove. Many would spend years in physical therapy, learning to walk again, to use their hands again, to sleep without nightmares. Within days, suspicion fell on Richard Jewell, the security guard who discovered the bomb. Media outlets reported he fit the profile of a lone bomber seeking attention, someone who planned a device and then played hero by discovering it. The speculation destroyed his life. For 3 months, Jewell lived under a cloud of suspicion, while the real bomber remained free. In October 1996, the FBI finally cleared him, but the damage was done, and the bomber was already planning his next attack. Eric Robert Rudolph was born on September 19, 1966, in Merritt Island, Florida, the fifth of 6 children. His early years were marked by his father's death when Eric was 13, a loss that upended the family. His mother, Patricia, relocated the family to Topton, North Carolina, a remote community in the Nantahala region of the Appalachian Mountains. Topton had fewer than 300 residents. No stoplights, no fast food restaurants, just mountains, forests, and people who value privacy above almost everything else. The mountains would become Rudolph's university, teaching him skills that would later make him one of the most elusive fugitives in American history. He learned to hunt, to track game, to identify edible plants and find water sources, to move through dense forests without leaving traces, to survive in conditions that would kill most people within days. His childhood became a training ground for survival, though no one at the time understood what that training would eventually serve. At 18, Rudolph enlisted in the United States Army. He served as a private, stationed at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, where he received training that would prove critical to his future crimes: demolitions, explosives handling, how to construct devices designed to kill. The military taught him precision, patience, and the mindset of someone who could plan operations and execute them without emotion. But Rudolph lasted less than 2 years in the Army. He was discharged in 1989, reportedly for smoking marijuana. What's clear is that he left the military with skills he hadn't possessed when he entered, and he returned to the mountains of North Carolina. There, in isolation, Rudolph's ideology began to crystallize into something dangerous. He was drawn to Christian identity theology, a racist and anti-Semitic belief system that views white people as God's chosen race. Christian identity adherents believe Jews are descended from Satan, that people of color are subhuman, and that America has been corrupted by forces of evil that must be resisted through violence if necessary. Rudolph absorbed these beliefs, mixing them with anti-government sentiment and a growing obsession with abortion. He saw America as a nation in moral collapse, promoting what he called global socialism through events like the Olympics, and condoning the murder of unborn children through legalized abortion. By the mid-1990s, Rudolph had transformed from a troubled loner into a true believer willing to kill for his ideology. He began acquiring bomb-making materials: dynamite from construction sites, nails from hardware stores, timers and batteries and wire. He studied explosive devices, learning how to construct bombs that would detonate reliably, how to maximize casualties, how to design secondary devices that would kill first responders rushing to help the wounded. The Centennial Olympic Park bombing was Rudolph's announcement to the world, but it was only the beginning of a campaign that would span 18 months. Each attack revealed a pattern. Each demonstrated tactical sophistication, and each was designed to send a message written in blood. The pipe bomb that killed Alice Hawthorne had been carefully constructed, dynamite packed around 3-inch masonry nails in a green military-style backpack. A crude timer set to detonate at a specific moment calculated for maximum casualties. Rudolph had made the 911 call warning of the bomb, but the timing was deliberate, giving authorities too little time to evacuate everyone. His stated motive, revealed years later, was opposition to the Olympics themselves, which he viewed as a celebration of global socialism. On January 16, 1997, the abortion clinic in Sandy Springs, a suburb north of Atlanta, became Rudolph's next target. But this bombing revealed a chilling evolution in his tactics. He planted 2 devices. The first exploded at 9:30 a.m., a relatively small blast designed to draw first responders. The second, larger bomb was hidden nearby, Time to detonate an hour later when emergency personnel, FBI agents, and ATF investigators will be processing the scene. 6 people were wounded when the secondary device exploded, including federal agents. The double bombing technique announced that Rudolph wasn't just targeting buildings. He was targeting the people who ran toward danger, trying to help. 5 weeks later, on February 21st, 1997, Rudolph struck the Other Side Lounge, a lesbian nightclub in Atlanta. The bombing followed the same pattern. 2 devices, the second time to explode after first responders arrived. The initial blast injured patrons inside the club. The secondary device was discovered before it could detonate, hidden in the bushes outside where police and fire personnel had gathered. Had it exploded as intended, the casualty count would have been catastrophic. 5 people were injured in the first blast, but the secondary device's failure marked a rare moment when Rudolph's planning went wrong. 11 months after the Other Side Lounge bombing, Rudolph struck for the final time. The target was an abortion clinic in Birmingham, and the bombing would become his deadliest. Off-duty police officer Robert "Sandy" Sanderson, 41 years old, was working security at the clinic that morning. At approximately 7:30 a.m., a bomb concealed in a planter near the entrance detonated. Sanderson was killed instantly, his body torn apart by the blast. Nurse Emily Lyons, standing nearby, was catastrophically injured. Shrapnel destroyed her left eye. Her face was shredded. She suffered permanent hearing loss, partial blindness, and injuries that would require years of reconstructive surgery. The Birmingham bombing marked the end of Rudolph's active campaign, but also provided a break investigators desperately needed. Witnesses near the clinic reported seeing a man running from the scene. A truck was identified. License plates were traced. And suddenly, the phantom who terrorized the Southeast for 18 months had a name: Eric Robert Rudolph. By May 1998, he was formally identified as a suspect. By October, prosecutors charged him with the Olympic Park attack. His photograph appeared on wanted posters across the nation, but when aides arrived at his home in Topton, Rudolph was already gone. The search for Eric Rudolph became the largest manhunt in FBI history, consuming resources that would eventually total millions of dollars. The Nantahala National Forest covers more than 500,000 acres of rugged wilderness, steep mountains, dense forests, caves, and abandoned structures scattered throughout. Rudolph knew this land intimately. The FBI deployed tracking dogs that lost a scent in streams. They brought in helicopters equipped with thermal imaging, but the forest canopy was too thick. They interviewed locals, but many refused to cooperate, viewing federal agents as bigger threats than Rudolph himself. T-shirts appeared in local shops reading "Run Rudolph Run" and 1998 Hide and Seek Champion. Whether these represented genuine support or dark humor was unclear, but they reflected a culture deeply suspicious of federal authority. Rudolph survived through skill and determination. He foraged for food, eating acorns, salamanders, wild plants. He broke into vacation cabins when their owners were away, stealing supplies. He found shelter in caves, under rock overhangs, and abandoned structures. He moved constantly, never staying in one place long enough for searchers to establish a pattern. But as months turned into years, survival became exponentially more difficult. Winter temperatures in the Appalachians regularly dropped below freezing. Food becomes scarce. The psychological toll of complete isolation begins to erode even the strongest will. By 2003, the manhunt was entering its 6th year. Some theorized he'd fled to another state. Others believed he was dead. Then Officer Jeffrey Postel, 21 years old and only months into his law enforcement career, pulled his patrol car behind a Save-A-Lot grocery store to investigate someone rummaging through a dumpster. When he shined his flashlight on the man's face, recognition hit like electricity. Eric Robert Rudolph, dirty and thin and exhausted, was arrested without resistance. After millions of dollars, thousands of man-hours, and a search that seemed destined to go on indefinitely, the Olympic Park bomber was caught scavenging for food. Federal prosecutors in both Georgia and Alabama sought the death penalty. In April 2005, Rudolph agreed to a plea deal. In exchange for pleading guilty to all 4 bombings and cooperating with investigators, he would receive multiple consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. As part of his cooperation, Rudolph led authorities to over 250 pounds of dynamite buried in the mountains. On July 18, 2005, Rudolph was sentenced in Birmingham to 2 consecutive life terms for murdering Officer Sanderson. Emily Lyons, who had undergone 22 surgeries, spoke directly to Rudolph, describing the pain he'd caused. Rudolph showed no emotion. On August 22, 2005, he received 2 additional consecutive life sentences in Atlanta. Before sentencing, Rudolph delivered a long, rambling statement justifying his actions as necessary resistance against abortion and government tyranny, expressing no sympathy for his victims. That same day, he was transferred to ADX Florence, the federal Supermax prison in Colorado, where he would spend the rest of his life in a 7 by 12 foot cell.